So folks, I'm going to do a tutorial on how to export a sheet drawing from Vectorworks, bring it into Illustrator and prepare it for the laser cutter in Clare Street in LSAD. So I'm going to first of all open up Vectorworks. And at the moment, I already have some sheets set up. So on the right hand side here are all the sheets that are already set up. So our 3D model was drawn and I traced over some of the views to get these parts that I wanted to laser cut. I have set up the colors. I'm going to delete this so I show you. So I've set up my three colors. So for example, my text is in black because I'm going to do a fill engrave with that. The engraving that needs to be on the base is in blue because there's going to be a vector engrave with that. This is my base here. Now your base might not be as big, that's okay. I have a red line around that base, which is going to be cutting that base out. And then I have all of the other parts which have red lines around them, which are going to be cut out. So these panels, the vertical studs and the cross members as well for the stud work. So all of this is ready to be cut. Before we send it, I'm going to pick up the rectangle tool and I'm going to draw a rectangle around the outside of it, which will be the size of the bed of the machine. So you can see there it says 900 by 600. If that doesn't come up so accurately for you, you can type in the 900 by 600. And now I have a line around the outside, which is 900 by 600. So I can measure that when I bring it into Illustrator to make sure that no scaling has happened and it's all the correct size. Then I'm going to go to File and Export a DWG file. So these are the settings. You can stop your video and double check everything. I'm going to press OK. I've picked the sheet that I'm exporting. It will ask me where I want to save it, so I'm going to save it on the desktop. I will call it Michael's Sheet 1 Laser. Save it to my desktop and save. And then I'm going to close down. Vectorworks, and I'm going to open up Illustrator. So when I open up Illustrator, I go to create new document, and I'm going to create a custom file. So on the right hand side here, I'm going to put in a width of 900 millimeters and a height of 600 millimeters. So make sure the units here is in millimeters. 900 by 600 because that's the size of our machine bed. I press create. And it'll open up our Illustrator file with a white area here, which is 900 millimeters by 600 millimeters tall. And this is called the artboard in Illustrator. Then I'm going to go to File and Open. I'll find my file on the desktop. Michael's Sheet 1 Laser. Double click on that to open it up. It's important here now that we don't want it to scale, so we're going to go with original size. Scale 1:1, so 1 unit equals 1, and it's going to be millimeters. And I press OK. That'll open up a new file, but it'll use the same artboard size as I had previously. And that seems to have come in as the correct dimensions, but to double check that, I'm going to click and drag over everything. It has highlighted everything now, and the most external line is that rectangle that I drew, which is 900 by 600. And up at the top of my screen, I have width and height here. So it says width 900 and height 600. So that's come in as the correct dimensions. If you don't have these dimensions up at the top here, you can open up the transform tool. So go into Window, scroll down to transform, and it'll bring up this box, which will show you the width and the height. So mine is 900 by 600, which means it came in correctly. No scaling, so all the dimensions are correct. However, I know some of you have had scaling issues, so I'm going to show you how to fix that. So say, for example, my sheet came in at this size instead of the other size. So I can very clearly see that that's the wrong size. So I'm going to select it all. And on my transform tool, or up at my top here, it's telling me that the width is 538 and the height is 358. So that's incorrect. But I know what it should be. So I'm going to change it to what it should be. So there's a little chain link here. What I want to do first is make sure that's linked. So it can either be not linked with the stroke through it, or when it looks like there's a little chain linked together, that's when it's the width and the height are linked. So now when I change the width, the height will change proportionally. So I'm going to change the width to be 900 and press enter. And I can move it around using my black selection tool. So up in the top left-hand corner, I can pick the black selection tool. I can move it into place. And it's changed the width 900 and the height is now 599.999. So it's 0.0001 of a millimeter out. So that's okay. That's so small we won't be able to see that. So now that I know it's the correct dimensions, scaled correctly, so I can check that again just by selecting everything and looking at my width and height. Yep, 900 by 600. So I'm going to delete the line on the outside. So I just click on it and I press backspace or delete on my keyboard, because I don't actually need that line anymore. That was just for scaling. And I don't want to cut it, so I'm taking it out altogether. Now I'm going to change the text so that it can be laser engraved or laser cut. So this text here at the minute is what we call editable text. So I can edit this text still. So if I double click into it, I can use my backspace, I can delete the text and type it back in, type in something else if I wanted. So this text is still editable. If it's editable text, the machine won't be able to read it. The laser won't read it. So what we want to do is click on it with your normal left click, and then go up to the top and go to type and create outlines. Then it has changed it to being fill and stroke. So the fill, so the center of any shape or any shape is called the fill. So for example, if I select this rectangle here, at the minute in the center of this rectangle there is no color. So you can see here this rectangle here shows us the fill. There's a stroke through it because there's no color. If I clicked on black, it would have a fill of black. If I click on it and say no fill, it now has no fill again. The line around the outside is called stroke in Illustrator. So at the minute this line is red. If we want to send a fill engraved to the laser, it needs to be black stroke and black fill. So I click on my fill, I press black, and then I click on my stroke and I press black. Now, if you don't have these colors on the right hand side, or any of the boxes that I'm using, any of these panels that I'm using, where you'll find them is in Window. So if I go up to the top, select that and scroll down, you can turn on the transform tool that we use or any of the other tools that I might mention, they'll be in here. For those swatches on that color palette on the right hand side, I'll go into swatch libraries. I then go up to default swatches, and art and illustration is the one I've turned on. Yours might have art and illustration, or it might have what's called basic RGB, and that one will work perfect as well. So turn on art and illustration or basic RGB, and you have your colors here. I use that black for the text. I am then going to select all my red lines and change them to this red. Sometimes the laser is a little bit picky about the colors when they come from Vectorworks, and that's why we're changing them to Illustrator colors, and then we'll have no issues. So I select one red line, and to select all the red lines then, I'll go to select at the top here, same, and stroke color. So it'll select all of the lines or all of the shapes with the same stroke color, which is all the red ones we created in Vectorworks. And I'm going to click on my stroke and press red. and my fill, there's already fill turned off, so that's perfect. Then I'm going to select one blue line, and I will go to select at the top here, same, and again we'll go to stroke color, and it'll select all the blue lines that are in the drawing, and I'm going to go to click on my stroke and click on blue, and now it has changed all these lines to that particular blue. So at this stage, we're ready to save this file as it's ready to go to the laser. To save it, we're going to go to File and Save. I'm going to save it to the desktop. You could save it to a memory stick at this stage because you're going to bring it to the laser cutting computer then. So I go to the desktop, I give it a name, and I press Save. It's going to replace the previous file. That's okay. So after I press Save once, it'll give me this dialog box, which will allow me change the version of Illustrator. I'm going to go to CS6 as the version that we want. If it's in your version, the computer at the laser cutter will not read it. So we're going to use CS6. I press OK. And now that has saved that file to my desktop, and that's the file we're going to bring to the laser cutting computer. So I'd save it onto a memory stick and bring it to the computer. Okay, thank you.